Covenants of Salt is the latest mini LP from Balmog, a now quartet from the Galicia portion of Spain, who have sort of gone off on a tangent that started with Pillars of Salt and built off of the ideas they'd introduced on Vacuum back in 2018, which was, I think, their third or fourth full length. This group has been around for a while, and they started with a sort of indefinite style in the earlier 2000s, which sort of evolved into more of an orthodox black metal influenced sound, and that began to distort more recently on their last several releases. So uh, this will be a tough thing to sort of clip and parse out because this is the second mini LP, which consists of one 18.5-minute song. The first being Pillars of Salt back in, I believe, 2020. And now Covenants of Salt iterates on that by continuing the sort of the narrative. So let's just get into the general sound of that and what that is, and we'll kind of go from there in explaining what this is. So essentially what we get are elements of occult and orthodox black metal being interspersed with influences from everything from progressive rock to more modern styles of music. There's a sort of heavy rock element to the first EP, and this one takes a different voicing. They've expanded to a quartet, but they brought back everyone who participated in the first EP in this style, and now they're acting more as a unit. The first EP was much more active in terms of a lot of ideas pouring in from all angles, adding to this really constant spectacle of a song. And this second piece, it definitely moves as one most of the time, and it moves in intervals of about 3 minutes, which clip off complete, well-rounded ideas, which are all interrelated in a very strong way. So they brought the vocalist and bassist of Jade, and um, Javier Feliz of Graveyard and Titan Blood, as well as Moon Tower Studios, in as a guitarist and keyboardist. So this fleshes out the sound in a similar way that it did on Pillars of Salt, but now they're sort of all actively working as one in creating this general verve of the song, which has many motifs and callbacks to the first one, but pushes it along. And I think that'll be the tough thing for a lot of listeners, is that this isn't a reproduction of the first EP, it's a continuation of where it left off. So becoming very familiar with Pillars of Salt will be really important to understanding the fact that this is a continuation of the conversation, and it won't necessarily read as a brand new one right away. So I found myself almost getting there with this album to the same level that I did with the first EP, but it doesn't quite have the same overactive imagination the first one did. This is a much more pointed and focused release, which focuses on its rhythmic values and much deeper set production sound, where the vocals are a little bit deeper in the mix. There's a lot of it's much more subtle. I had to crank this thing up very loud, and I don't know if, I think the sound files were of high quality. It was just that I had to really try to get at some of those details, which were much more readily presented on Pillars of Salt. So, I'm a huge fan of this band. I bought their last 4 records on vinyl. I've got all of them stacked up back there. It's kind of a really important band for me in pulling a little bit deeper into what's going on right now in Spanish black metal in general, and even some Portuguese and whatnot. So this is it's a band that I can't help but continue to recommend. I think that this is not quite as good as Pillars of Salt for my own taste, but I do appreciate that it does continue that sound and theme in an effective way that makes a lot of sense when played back to back. I think the logical thing is they'll probably release a vinyl with both on one side, or just a compilation of the two, or they might expand it more in the future. That would be really cool if they did. So for me, this is a very high recommendation. It is just a thing that is especially to my taste. And I think one of the better releases of May right off the bat. So check that out. Check the review out, the written review that is. And yeah, go check. You can listen to it right now.